Today I'm going to be discussing about Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball has taken a lot of heat for how the game is played and managed. Baseball has been ridiculed for being too long, not exciting enough, and too many missed play calls. This sport is America's pastime, and headquarters of MLB have done a lot to salvage the same rules that have been enforced for over decades. However, the MLB has made some strides in making the game more efficient, such as adding instant replay in hopes of making the game better for each team, the fans, and creating a more accurate game of baseball. Today, I will persuade you in why instant replay is good for baseball and how it has affected the game we all know and love. Let me talk more about the history of instant replay. Instant replay came to the MLB actually in 2008, but it was only used to determine if it was a home run or not. 5 years later, in 2013, they released instant replay for much more than that, such as play calls and foul balls. When the MLB decided to go with instant replay, they actually put in TVs in all of the stadiums, along with a secure telephone to call the MLB headquarters in New York. There are specific rules on challenging a play in order to use it for instant replay. In an article written by Paul Hagen on MLB.com, he says each manager gets the game with one challenge. If he issues it and the call is overturned, he gets one more, but can never have more than two. If he still has a challenge after the sixth, he must use it if he wants to challenge a call. However, if a manager is out of challenges, he may ask the umpire to review a close play in the last 3 innings. Chances are the umpire will grant the request, and yes, the umpire can also decide to take another look after the 6th inning, even if a manager who is out of challenges doesn't ask. How does the coach use their challenges? Well, if there is a very close play on the field, and the coach thinks that the call was unfair against his team, he's allowed to use a challenge to the booth to overturn the call. So the coach comes out to the field and talks to the head crew chief, which is the head umpire on the field, and the umpire calls a phone that goes all the way to the New York headquarters for MLB. And then they have a technician video team that takes a look at the play, no matter where the play was at or what stadium, and they determine the call. After the technician team has looked at the play and determined the correct call, there is no more challenges for that play, even if the other coach disagrees. But the video must be clear and convincing evidence in order to overturn the call. The pros and cons of instant replay is that baseball is already such a long game that each time a coach challenges a play, it extends the game by 2, possibly even 3 more minutes. And some baseball games are even recorded to last up to 3 hours, which is a lot more than most of the other sports. So adding instant replay takes more time away from the game, which could bore a lot of the fans. Bad calls, I understand that bad calls are a part of baseball. It's always been a part of baseball, and people think that that's just how it is. Not everybody's perfect, and the ump is going to make his call regardless. The pros to that is the game is built on tradition. We all know that, and it's already a long game, averaging to close to 3 hours. Jason Stark has this to say in an article on ESPN.com. Despite complaints about the length of time which replay officials are taking to review calls, MLB says the average time of a review from challenging to ruling has remained relatively stable. The average time per review was 1 minute and 54 seconds through Sunday. It was 1 minute 49 seconds at a similar stage of last season and 2 minutes and 7 seconds at the same juncture in 2014. Also, Paul Hagen states in an article how long each instant replay interaction should last. That remains to be seen, but the goal is for no more than 60 to 90 seconds to elapse from the time the manager informs the umpire that he wants a challenge to the time the replay official's decision is announced. Also, bad calls have always been a part of baseball, and umpires have taken a lot of heat for their mistakes for crucial games. In an article on BleacherReport.com, Zachary Reimer had this to say about bad calls. Bad calls may be a part of the game, but this is the 21st century. The technology we have at our disposal will help eliminate a lot of the bad calls, and Major League Baseball needs to take advantage of that technology. Just because it's America's pastime doesn't mean baseball has an excuse to remain stuck in the past. Which means if we have the technology nowadays, why should we settle for what we've done for decades in the past? I think with the technology we have, we could go even further than just bad play calls. We could go further into strikes and balls and much more like that. I'm going to show you an example now of how instant replay helped one of the teams in a crucial part of the game. There's going to be a second baseman, a runner on the second base heading to third, and that is Mike Trout, a player for the Los Angeles Angels. He slides into third and is initially called out, but Trout thinks that he is safe, and the coach on the same team thinks he's safe also. So he gets with the umpire and asks him to challenge the play. And as you see the slow-mo here, it's hard to tell, but Trout slides a little to his right, avoiding the tagger, and he's actually safe. So what they did is there was a runner going to third base, and he slid and was initially called out. The runner thought he was safe, and the coach for that team also thought that he was safe. So he went to the umpire, which is the crew chief, which is the umpire that stands behind the catcher in the game, and asked him to instant replay that play call. The umpire gets on the phone and calls to New York, which has the MLB organization technicians that look at all the reviews, and they reviewed the play and determined that he was actually safe, that the tagger did not touch him at all, and he was safe and stayed on third. The MLB is striving to change some of its ways to accommodate the players and the fans by assuring them the game is fair. We all know baseball as being a game of pace, and additional pauses with the game tack on time frame of the game. However, the league has done other things to ensure instant replays are being used carefully and in a timely manner. People who care about the sport of baseball embrace the fact that it takes a long time for the game to end, and that calls are being made correctly and precisely. And I am one of those fans. Thank you.